forgot to hit the button. Good morning, everybody. How are you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
No lion anymore, huh?
Yeah, all new animations,
Wow.
and yeah, we couldn't get the lion to work in with the whole thing. So,
But I had my lion queued up.
Looked awesome.
Oh, good to see you guys. Good to see you. How's everybody doing today?
Best
Doing great.
week ever.
Oh, there you go.
Happy Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday. Good to see everybody in the chat. We have a very special guest with us today, Shabnam. Would you want to introduce yourself to the chat and let people know who you are, what you're all about?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm Shabnam Watson. I'm a Microsoft Data Platform MVP, speaker, blogger, and data architect. And I've known you guys for how long? For a couple of years through the MVP program and the community conferences, SQL Saturdays. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Oh, look at this. This is the first time I've heard of anyone finishing the DP 700. So, 2 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Good luck to you,
That's
sir.
amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, and because it's in beta, you don't get to score right away, right? So they go back and score it, and they may look because they could have potentially just questions they're trying out, this, that, and the other. So I think you end up waiting in this when you take it in this mode.
Yeah, because
that's why the fingers are crossed.
Everyone gets a question wrong because it's like just poorly worded,
Right.
or
they take it out.
Yeah, they'll pull it out of the overall thing. So honestly, I think it's almost easier now to get it. So if you're thinking about it, give her a shot.
Just take it on a whim. Well, but
yeah.
Well, hopefully you'll come back and let us know next week how you did. I'd like to hear that. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Awesome. It's good seeing everyone. And Chewy's here. Good to see you.
Hey, Chewy.
Yeah, good to see
you. Hi, Chewy.
And good old Donald Parrish with the Detroit Lions roar. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I'll work with my animators. We've got all new assets. We tried hard to get the lion thing, but it didn't look great with the new animation, and so we went away from it.
But you didn't even work in Buffalo Trace either. I found a new bottle this week, so that's why I was happy about that.
Oh man, I have been on the hunt. I think it's going on 2.5 years since I found a bottle of Buffalo Trace.
So. Oh, really? I got lucky. I walked into the store the other day to get something else, and there's a guy with 2 boxes putting them out with a sign, limit 1 per person. I was like, I almost walked out, put it in the car, walked back in.
So Shabnam, we don't have sponsorships here, but we are appreciative of products. And hey,
course.
Buffalo Trace, if you're looking to sponsor a podcast that has a whopping 22 viewers, please feel free to reach out. We're happy to take multi-million-dollar contracts.
22 million is, $1 million per viewer. Why not?
Yeah. That makes good sense, right? Good deal. So Shabnam, I'm just trying to say good morning to Belinda. You know Belinda, right?
Of course, yes.
Everybody knows.
Good morning, Belinda.
Yeah. Belinda is one of the most welcoming, enjoyable people that I know. If you have not met Belinda, and you're within a mile of her, well, number one, she'll probably introduce herself to you.
Within a mile.
If she happens to not, because she's happily talking about something else, take a moment to introduce yourself. She's a lovely individual. Oh, Jack has cases of Buffalo Trace. Jack, me and you are going to have to work something out there, buddy. I don't know how you can ship that stuff, but that's crazy.
Or we could go to California. So.
Oh. Yeah, we were just talking about that. There's some big conferences coming up. We should kind of acknowledge.
Mm-hmm.
There is Ignite in Chicago, which
I think it's sold out. I think
is
Ignite,
it sold out?
Yeah, I don't think
it is. Yeah,
I don't think you could register, but is it online as well this year? Can
It
we?
is, I think, yeah.
You could do online only. In fact, I need to, I think, go set that up and so I can watch some of the conferences coming or the sessions coming up. But you can't go in. I don't think anybody could be signed up for in person right now.
I thought they opened up more seats. Am I
Um,
wrong?
unless if you have a special invite code at this point,
Okay.
it's closed to the general public.
All right. It's kind of a big one on the DL. This is a big one to go to. So if you have contacts at Microsoft and you have influence and want to go, this would be one I'd twist some arms to get to. Just saying. So,
But I think before Ignite is another big one, right?
What's before Ignite?
There
Past
is?
Summit. Is
Oh,
it
yes.
past before Ignite?
It is. It's before.
Yeah, Pass
Okay.
is coming up the first week of November. So,
Okay.
yeah, so you got to
this
be
year
planning
it's
for
in
that.
the new building too. They're having it in the Seattle, the new Seattle Convention Center, which is beautiful.
Mm.
Okay. Well, that sounds wonderful. And I'm going to do a shameless plug because we're all about shameless plugs here. If you are interested in doing a fabric analyst in a day on December 6th, I, in conjunction with some of my partners, in fact, very little of I, but like I'll be there and we'll be doing a fabric analyst in a day, all free training all day, all day long. We'll bring resources, we'll bring training materials. It's a great experience if you're trying to get up to speed or someone who wants to get up to speed. If you do go sign up, seats are going really fast. If and when you sign up, send me a message on LinkedIn like, hey, Chris, I just signed up from your live stream. Please approve me. I will go in and approve you manually right away at that point in time. So happy to bring anyone in who's looking to be part of that.
Is it in person or is it virtual?
Great questions. All virtual, so you can anyone for anywhere in the world you can come in and do this. I will say we are prioritizing U.S.-based people to be part of it, just because there's partners in other areas that they're doing that they're prioritizing. So, but yeah, sign up and we're happy to bring you in into the training. So, awesome.
Nice.
Exciting stuff. But we're not just here to like plug and promote stuff, other events. Shabnam, you have I'm a big fan of yours. I like seeing you're presenting at FabCon Europe, and I saw a couple like pictures of that, and I went, "Holy cow! Hey Shabnam, let me know if you want to be on the live stream someday." And you're like, "Yes," and I said, "When?"
Of course.
And you said Friday. I'm like, "All right, we'll make it happen."
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and right before the FabCon Europe, I was at the Microsoft Power Platform Community Conference in Vegas, and in that conference, I have the session that's a combination of Power Apps and Power BI, which is what I'm going to show parts of it to you today. So I love this topic because it brings together Power Apps and Power BI. So two different worlds that I love. And then a very special use case for write back that a lot of people are interested in.
Great. Well, I think it's going to be awesome. So
okay,
let's just get right into it.
Let's do it.
Questions, other rules? Do you have something new for that?
So all my graphics for the classic stuff that we talk about are all gone. So I have to recreate that stuff and I don't have it right now. But let's just the whole point of this is we're here to answer questions for you. So I guess I have two graphics. I got welcome and I have Q&A. Send your questions in chat. Shabnam, we'll be asking all the questions, so you guys can go ahead and ask the questions in the chat. Kevin and I will field them and we'll prompt them up to you, so you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And if you do have questions, all right, here's just the dealio. Kevin and I kind of know how to do this stuff already, so Shabnam is here for you. So if you have questions, ask them. We're happy to have Shabnam answer them and show you how this stuff is done. because we want you to get a lot out of this training. So, with that, Shabnam, we'll go over to you.
Okay. So here we go. All right. So using Power Apps in Power BI to enable a write back. So this is for a couple of use cases. So very specific use cases where your data source is a SQL-based data source. So for example, it can be an on-prem SQL server, Azure SQL database. It can be a Microsoft Fabric data warehouse, which is what we're going to focus on today, or Dataverse. Now with the Fabric data warehouse, you have to do things a little bit differently than the other SQL data sources. And it's not difficult. You just need to do a small workaround that I'm going to show you later today. So when you have any of these data sources, then you have a Power BI report that's built off of them. So this is a Power BI report that's in near real time. So again, we're talking about the use case of write back and when this fits together. So you have a Power BI reports that is in either Direct Query or Direct Lake, the newest storage mode for Microsoft Fabric. And then you want to put a Power Apps visual in your Power BI report to update the data and refresh your Power BI page. So this is how it looks. So you have a Power BI report based off of a SQL data source. This can be any of those SQL data sources that I talked about. And then you put in the Power Apps visual onto your report. Then you use the visual to update the data that the report is based off of. And then that Power Apps visual can also trigger a Power BI page refresh. So we're not talking about model refresh. This is the Power BI page refresh. So as if your backend has changed and now you ask the user to go and click in the refresh icon in Power BI service when they're looking at a report. So that will rerun all the visuals. We can do this with the Power Apps visual in Power BI. So data is updated and then everything gets refreshed and then you see the update. So this is the gist of it. Now, if you're working with a model that's in import mode, you can still do this. So you can still update the data, but the changes won't reflect back, obviously, with a page refresh. And that by itself also has its own use case. So for example, you can be using, a manager can be using the Power BI report to, let's say, update the product categories, and they don't care if they needed to be updated right away. They're okay for them to be picked up with the next Power BI model refresh, which can be in an hour. So that is also its own use case. All right, so I'm going to switch to
So
demo.
while you're on the screen, if we just kind of talk business use cases for a second.
Sure.
Like what I think I see on your screen is your visual that has the update button, which is the Power App visual. You're adding, like, it almost appears to me like a new translation, right? Like you're saying, or like you're adding a new category and you're saying the English name is bikes, the Spanish name is something I can't pronounce, and French is something I really can't pronounce.
So yes, so the way it works is that I have a product category editor here on my screen. And for some reason, I decide that, okay, the English product name for this product is not bikes, it's bikes 2. This is the category of bikes 2. Now, ideally, you would also be updating the other ones of it. So I'm just saying, update this to bike 2. So you go in here, you type in number 2, you click on the update button. And that sends a SQL command to your backend changes, and then it triggers a page refresh. So then the rest of the visuals here, they're also going to reflect your change. So look at this one.
That's what, So you showed it and I was just a little bit slow. But some other business cases that people have used this for is things like maybe kind of forecasting or putting different numbers in or something like that. Is that also what you've seen?
Yes, absolutely. So you can update numbers, any value. So this app here works with all the visuals in your Power BI report, so it can receive context, and then from there you can go and do whatever you can do within Power Apps to update the data or add records. You can even add records, delete records.
Okay, I
This would
think
be
I'm
good
caught
if we
up
were
now.
doing some planning or budgeting or
Right.
forecasting, right? That'd be a common activity. Am I right?
It can be, or it can even be you have Power BI reports and you have people who want to edit the dimension tables, for example. They don't want to leave Power BI. They want to do everything in Power BI. Now, that doesn't fit everybody, but there are cases where people don't want to move out of Power BI service to go to a different software or data entry tool to make updates.
No,
Okay.
All right. Well,
that
thanks.
makes good sense.
Yep.
I've also seen this like in accounting for end of month or end of quarter where they need to do an adjustment, and
Yes.
that they can. This writes the adjustment into a central place for all their adjustments that they can then track and manage, and like you could even click off a Power Automate for an approval on this, right?
You can, correct. So you can add on to it. So you can have Power Automate as well. But today we're just going to focus on the Power Apps part.
Oh, fair enough. Hey, Miss Belinda's got a question for you, Shabnam. She wants to know, how do you issue a page refresh? She's never done that before.
Okay, so I'll show you. So
Okay.
we're gonna do a demo, and I'm gonna show you how you can do that part.
You're gonna show us how to actually do all this stuff too?
Yes, we're gonna actually do a live demo on a Friday morning.
No.
See how
We
it
know how
works.
that goes around here.
Yes, but Belinda, in case the demo does not work, there's a function called Power BI. So off of the Power BI integration dot page refresh. So you call a refresh function in Power Apps that will kick off the Power BI page refresh. So I'll show you the code in a few moments. All right, should we? Let's
move
go
on.
to. All right, so let me get out of PowerPoint. And we're going to go to Power Apps first. So this is Power Apps Studio. So I'm going to build an app off of the SQL table first. I have a SQL table in an Azure SQL database is my data source. So if you have never built a Power Apps before, you're getting started. The easiest way to get started is by going to the what's called the template apps or 3-screen app wizard. So you can choose any of these data sources, and Power Apps Studio will build a template 3-screen app that right out of the box can edit and insert records and delete records. So I'm going to click on SQL here, but I'm going to pull the screen away for just a moment so I can enter my credentials, and then I'll bring it back. Okay, so I'm going to pull this back, and I'm going to click on SQL, and I will choose my Azure SQL DB connection string. And then after that, we can go in and look at a table. So just give me 1 second. And then once I put in my credentials, it tells me to select the table, and then it starts building the app. So I'm just bringing it back. So I have built a small sales table off of the AdventureWorks database. It's a fact table that has some of the columns already added in. So again, for this example, it's useful, but when you're working with a real project, you're going to have multiple tables you're working in. So here I have one sales table that has the product category. The dimension tables are actually brought in. So hang
on 1 second. I just want to point out, you live on a live stream created an application that's connected to a database, and you're already up and running, right? Like this is
that's crazy. This is how I fell in love with Power Apps, because it randomly picks some fields for the first screen. But if I go and run this is fully functional. So I can go in here and give it a second to resize. I can delete this record. I can go and update this record. And this is all working with my Azure SQL database. And when I save this and publish it, I can even get it on my cell phone. So I can be walking around and going to the Power Apps app on my phone and making these updates, which is amazing. So absolutely zero code, works right out of the box.
Wow. Just incredible.
Yes. So Power Apps, so the way this works is, let's take a quick look at what it did. So on the first screen, it puts a control called a gallery. And let me zoom in. And it will randomly pick some of the fields from your data source, and you can modify these. So the way gallery works is that you change the first card and everything will follow suit. So you always format the first one, everything will follow. So I'll do a copy and paste of this one. And if I put here, if I want to show the sales amount, that's all I got to do. So sales amount, one more time. There we go. So now I have the sales amount in here as well. Okay.
Wow.
Super easy.
Okay, then. Yes. So now what I like about these template apps is that they're a great starting point for you to learn the code. And unlike some of the other languages, such as DAX, this code is super portable. So you can take this and put it in a different app and just change a couple of things and it will work. So it's very easy to learn from here. So this is our gallery. And then once you select a card from here, it navigates you to the second screen. So we're going to go to the second screen. And in this screen, if you click on it, you'll see that there is a form. So this is a form control in here. And the form has two important properties. It has a data source, which is set to the table that you choose. And it has an item property, which it uses to fill up the values. So if you just create a form and say, my data source is that table, it doesn't show any values. But we want we want you to arrive on this page with the values pre-populated so you can look at them. So the data source is used when you are doing things like deletes or updates. Now look at the code that it uses to update the data. So if you click on this icon here, this is all it's doing to write back to your Azure SQL database. That's it.
Holy crap on a cracker.
Yeah.
This already edits back to the database?
It does. Yeah, it does.
And so we're watching you live. You didn't have to program any write back functionality. It just does all that?
Yeah. So okay, we are not connected to Power BI yet. So we're still, this is a standalone Power Apps one. Okay. So we're going to go, we're going to, yeah.
It's connected. It'll write back to the database, right?
It does. Yeah, it does.
What in the world? Whoa.
Yeah, whoa. Listen to the end of that clip, Chris.
Yeah, so now you know why I fell in love with Power Apps, because I have a developer background and I used to write .NET code for all of this. And this just works, so I love it. Okay, so let's go and connect this to our Power BI report, okay? So I'm gonna go to Power BI, and this is a report I've built off of the same data source. Now you have to do this from Power BI service. You cannot do this from Power BI desktop. It looks like it's gonna work, but it will not work properly, okay? So you publish your report and then you put in the Power Apps visual, okay? And it has instructions that tells you what to do. So it kind of gives you some instructions to follow. I'm going to go and select all of the fields that I want my Power Apps to have access to. If you have multiple Power Apps environments, you can choose them from here. I only have one. So now you can go and say, create a new app or choose an existing one. Now I can choose the one that I just created. However, it will not interact with my report, meaning that if I click here on one of these visuals, it's not going to filter my Power Apps. And if I update the data, it's not going to be able to do this. It's not going to be able to hit that refresh button for me. Okay, so that's what I want to get to. So you have to create this from Power BI service once. Once you create it, you can embed it in multiple Power BI reports. But the first time, it must be created from the service. Okay, so I'm going to say create new. And this is going to do something very similar to the 3-screen wizard. It's going to create an app for us, but the app is going to look a little bit different. Okay. So let's see what it creates. All right. So first of all, you see it's not as pretty as the other one, but it has the important pieces on it. So one of the things that it's here that wasn't in the other one is this one, Power BI integration. This is what we need. So if you get here and that doesn't exist, that means your app is not going to work with Power BI the way we want it to. It only created one screen for us. Okay, so we want to have 2 screens for this app. So I'm going to edit this and get it to look like the other one. It'll make it pretty and then make it to work. So first of all, this is our gallery. I'm going to get the first card to expand a little bit more, and I'm going to add in, by copy and pasting, I'm going to add in a couple of more fields here. Okay, so I'm going to put let's see, sales amount here. And we're going to put product subcategory. Okay. And I'm going to insert a text box up here. I'm going to say, choose an item to edit. Okay, so we have the gallery. Now notice the gallery this time is getting its items instead of getting it from a SQL table. It looks a little bit different. So it's getting its data from Power BI, which is what we want, okay? Now I'm going to create a second screen. So when I'm in my app, I'm going to say second screen, a form. So it's going to create a screen with me with a form on it. Now this form, we have to set up 2 properties for it. One is its data source, and the other one is the items that the form is going to receive data from. Okay, so I'm going to click on this. Let me zoom in a little bit. So I'm going to click on connect data and get my connection string set up. But to do that, for a second, I'm going to pull this out of the screen to put in my credentials, because it's going to ask for my credentials. I'm going to come back to this in just one moment. So let me go off screen for a second. Connect to data. SQL, and here we go. So we're going to come back. All right, so now here I can search for my table. I choose my table. One thing I just want to point out is that from a couple of months ago, maybe a little bit more, Power Apps has added the functionality to actually call a store procedure. So previously you had to use a Power Automate to call store procedures from within Power Apps, but now it's super easy. You can directly call a store procedure, and this is going to come handy for us when we work with the Fabric warehouse. All right. So I'm going to choose the table.
Oh my gosh.
So
do you know
now
how new is that calling the store procedure now? 6 months?
6 months. Yeah, 6 months, not more. Which is great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
so
it's been a while. Yeah.
Right. So now I'm connected. So oops, let me zoom back in. I love the zoom bar here. Okay. So I'm connected, but still nothing is showing. So now I'm going to click on fields, click add fields. And now I'm going to choose my fields from my table, say add.
Hey,
And
Shabnam,
yes.
there's a question from Nico, and I think a lot of people be asking this. What license do you need in order to do this stuff?
Yeah, so great question. From Power Apps part, whenever you're working with a SQL data source, you need to have a premium Power Apps license. Now, if you're a developer, you can get a trial license for a while, or you can get a developer license that you can work in, but you cannot use it for production. Once this goes into a production environment, you must have a premium Power Apps license. You must have a paid Power Apps license. The Power Apps licenses differ from Power BI. With Power BI, if only your publishers need to have pro licenses if you're working with premium capacities. But with Power Apps, everybody, your developer and consumer, must be licensed with the pro license. Else, if I share this app with someone who does not have that paid Power Apps license, they will not be able to use it. And there's no way to get around licensing. The way you have to look at it is this: see how little amount of time it took for me to create this app. If you hire me as a developer to go create this app for you, it's going to take many more hours of testing and all that. So this is essentially shifting the pricing of you having to hire a development team into a licensing model for your developer and your consumers. That's how I think of it.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yes. So it picks some fields here, and let me click on that again. So this shows me the layers. Let me go back to the screen, to the form one. And you can go here to the fields. You can drag and drop these and change the order. So I'm going to bring sales order number, sales order line number up here, and you can change them from being able to edit. You can change them to be view only. So I'm going to change these to view only because these are our sales order line numbers. We don't want anybody to update them. So I'm going to say save changes. We give it a title. Okay, so we have a form, but it doesn't have any values. What we want to do is that when we navigate from screen one to this screen, we want values to be pre-populated. We don't want people to have to type again. So we have the data source set. That means this form now knows how to submit SQL queries to our backend. But how do we get the values to show up here? The way we're going to do that is we're going to go to item, and we're going to say item equals. Remember, we have a gallery on page one. All I have to do is this, gallery one selected. So whenever someone clicks something from gallery one, they arrive on this page, it's going to be pre-populated, okay? So a couple of more things. If someone clicks on the X, we're going to navigate back. So we have way back. Then this is the part that I think Belinda asked. Okay, so submit form knows how to submit a SQL to our backend. It's going to submit the update statement for us. But remember that we are in our Power BI report. So we want to do a couple of more things. One of them is that we want to trigger a Power BI page refresh. And that's the command that does it. Power BI integration.refresh. Chris, I love your reaction.
Now, do you have to put in the report ID, or though you are the tenant?
No, these two are connected. So remember that I got here by going to my Power BI report and editing it from Power BI service, and I got here. Okay. So the moment I save this, I'm going to go back to Power BI. It's going to connect the two together.
Yeah. So there was a conversation in the chat about why do you need to start from the service rather than from desktop? And I think this is kind of part of that answer, right? Because when you start from the service, it already knows what the report is and everything, and it has that in the background. Is that correct?
Yes. So the thing that if you get to this point and you're trying to create this example, and you get to here, you see Power BI integration, and you type refresh, it doesn't come up. The IntelliSense doesn't bring it up, or you try to force type it, you get those red squiggly lines beneath it. That means you haven't got there from Power BI service. So the order of operation is super important. I have blogged about this. I'll share the link with you guys later. There's only one path that works. Any other way you get there, it's not going to work. So hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah.
Okay. So the last thing that's left for us to do is from screen one to navigate to screen two. Okay. So if someone clicks on this button, what happens is that it selects the parent, which is the card. So I'm going to click the card and set its on select property to navigate to screen 2. And you can add error handling. You can add a lot of other fancy Power Apps features here, but we're not going to do that right now. So let's just test this real quick to see if it works, that I can navigate and I can come back. Okay. All right. So now that this is created, I'm going to save this. I'm going to call this app 4, save. And if I want other people in my organization to have access to this app, I also must publish this. So give it a second. I clicked on that twice. There we go. Publish. So it's published, so other people can also see the app. All right. So now I'm going to click back on my Power BI report and see what happens. My app loads, okay? And of course, I have to allow permission for it to get to the backend. So now let's see if we can do what we want it to do, which is, okay, so first of all, this receives context from our Power BI report, from other visuals. And let's go and update this one. So we're going to go here and we're going to add a couple more zeros here. And I'm going to click on this and see what happens. Keeping fingers crossed that this works. Come on, Azure SQL DB.
But you went by something a little bit quick. So
there you go.
The Power Apps visual in Power BI also receives filtering information from the other visuals, right?
Yes. So
that is so cool.
Yes. So see how, so if I just to show you, so if I go back, if I show you a SQL, so I'm going to do the same thing in SQL, just to show you how it is. Just 1 second. So
go, baby, let's go.
Chris with his new toys. I love it.
Yeah, trying to cover up for your sign in there, Shabnam. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the record that we are updating. This is the first record that we just updated. Okay, so if I go from here and I set it to 200, and if I query it from here, see, so we have this set to 200. This report is in direct query. So the next time someone opens the report or refreshes the page, this guy here, it should reflect that value. See, like we went back. So that's what we are doing with Power Apps is we are updating and we're also doing a page refresh. So let me do this again. So now we're going to put road bikes 2. We're going to change this just for Chris. How about just for Chris? Here we go. And then, and see, I'm hands off, so I'm not clicking on that refresh button. And so it updated our data and refreshed the page.
Yeah, with that extra code that you put in the app.
The Power BI integration. Yes, exactly. So that is happening here. So if I go, this is what's doing the page refresh. Now, you don't have to have this requirement. So you don't have to have the Power BI page refresh. If you're not, especially if you're not in direct query, that doesn't really do anything, right? But you can still embed a Power Apps in your Power BI report. So you can have your Power BI report and in the, you can have your main Power BI report pages. And then you can have another page where it's simply just a data entry tool. Now, whether that's a good idea or not, it's a whole different story. If you want to have people update data, that's like a total different story. But I've seen people who have use cases where they're adding annotations or they're adding remarks to certain records, and that's an acceptable use case. Okay, so what do you guys think so far?
I think this is wonderful. I mean, people seem to be responding like they've learned a ton already. Awesome. And you're just kind of like in, the standard kind of mode, but we call this show Fabric Fridays. You know, we haven't touched
Yeah,
Fabric.
can you do this with Fabric, or do you have
Yeah,
to have
yeah.
SQL for this, right?
So, okay. So
I
you
bet
know,
you
with
can't.
Fabric, I tried to, with the Fabric warehouse, I thought, okay, let me do the same thing. So I went and I pointed the template apps, the 3-screen template apps to my the SQL endpoint of the Fabric warehouse. And it seemed like it created an app for me, but it did not create the edit page for me like it does with Azure SQL DB or SQL database. So I thought, okay, let me go and create it like I created here for our app. It seemed like I was able to create it, but the update failed. So let me show you the error that I got. For that one, I'm gonna show you from a screenshot that I have here.
What, you didn't keep the error?
So this is what it looks like. It said network error when using patch function.
Interesting.
So
that's very clear. That it's obvious on how to fix it.
Yeah.
So now there's nothing you can do,
so
right?
First of all, what this tells us is that the submit form behind the scenes uses the patch function. So patch function is a little bit more advanced version of what you can use to update code. So with submit form, we just had the form. We were working within the confines of a form. Once you graduate from forms, you go free form, pun intended. You can create a bunch of text boxes and labels, and then have a button that you submit your changes. That's when you can use a function called patch, which has this format. So you give it your data source, you give it the record to be updated, and then in pairs, the column, the value, the column, the value. So I followed this path as well. So I created an app that does it freeform and uses a patch function, and that still did not work. I got the same error. Okay, so I was kind of expecting it, but I just wanted to make sure. Now we know that this is a false message because we know that we can read from it. We cannot update. So it cannot be a network error. Okay, so I had to go digging a little bit more. So as it turns out, whenever you use a patch or submit form in the back end, Power Apps submits a SQL command, right? Now that SQL command, I ran a trace and I captured it, and that SQL command looks like this. It calls an SV execute SQL and then passes your SQL statement to it. If you take this and if you run it in the warehouse, it's going to tell you that the output parameter or keyword or option is not supported. So while SV execute SQL is supported in the warehouse, this output parameter is not supported yet. Maybe it'll be supported in the future, but right now it's not. So the takeaway is when you're working with the Fabric warehouse with Power Apps, you cannot use either submit form or patch. So I had to find another workaround, right? Chris, do you have any questions? Does that make sense?
I would. Yeah. How are you going to do this? I don't know what you're going to do on this.
Yeah. So let's go.
Are you queuing an animation that I'm supposed to have up? Hang on. I'm sure I've got something that I could.
That's where we're all at right now.
Yes. So
it's amazing the debugging techniques you use to kind of get to this point as well, right?
Yes, so I actually used Query Insights in here. So I used that to capture it. If you're doing with Azure SQL DB, you can obviously run a trace. Okay.
Okay, because even though that update with output failed, it showed it in the Query Insights. It was a command that came through.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, the command goes through, but it fails. So the workaround is you create a store procedure, which Fabric Warehouse supports. So because Power Apps supports you calling store procedures, the easiest way to do this is to create a stored procedure, and then we're going to call the stored procedure from Power Apps to do our updates. So I have the same tables here, and let me go and show you a report that's built off of the warehouse. So I'm going to go into this one.
We're doing it live, people. Live.
Real live. Okay.
And we all know how that works out here.
Hey, it hasn't broken yet.
I know you're doing much better than right. I mean, everybody's a little bit surprised. They're like, "Wait, make Kevin do this so it breaks," you know.
I should not.
Okay. We got someone like angling for your replacement, Kevin.
I know. Well, it's been nice knowing y'all.
Okay, let me go.
Yes, Guillermo. Oh my, boy, did I have a problem with that one. We're talking about Power Apps to a Fabric warehouse now.
Yes. So, okay. So this is a completed report. So I'm going to cheat a little bit, show you a completed version, but I've done this the same way. I've gone into edit. It has taken me to Power Apps. I've edited and then I've come back here. Now, whenever you create a Power Apps that's connected to Power BI report, because it's receiving its data from Power BI, when you want to edit it further, you must follow the same route. You can open it in Power Apps and make edits like change the fonts or colors and things like that. But if you want to have the data, you must open from Power BI report. So I'm going to go into edit mode, and then from here, go into edit mode. And this is going to take me to Power Apps Studio and open up the app. Okay, here we go. We haven't broken down yet, which is good. This is because we go between two systems. Sometimes it's tricky to demo. All right, so this is an app. And in this app, I have one screen. So when you go into more advanced applications, you don't have to do a 3-screen application to do your edit. So you see, I only have one screen. And on this one, I have put text boxes and labels. That's all I have. So I have a bunch of text boxes and labels. Now, you see that I have Power BI integration here. So I'm receiving data from it. So for the text boxes, if you look, this time I've gone to Gallery 1, selected English product category name. Now you see that I'm referring to a gallery, but where is that gallery, right? There's a gallery here, and I've turned it invisible. So I'm using that gallery with its data set to Power BI integration.data. This just helps me to treat it like a table and navigate it. If I didn't have this, and I wanted to grab values from Power BI data integration.data, I would have had to go to the record, to the field and all that. Having a gallery just makes it super easy to fetch values from. So I have the gallery here and it's invisible. So when I get to my text boxes, I just say Gallery 1 selected and I put a dot and it brings up the list of all the values. Okay, so I have everything pre-populated here. Okay. Now, the update button, which is what we wanted to look at. So whenever someone selects this button, this is the code that runs. So let me make this a little bit bigger and then we can look at it. So this is my connection. So again, this app has a connection. So when I arrived here from Power BI, I've gone and I've created a connection. All you gotta do is you could just go in SQL connection, put in your credentials, it connects. That is the name of my connection. But off of that connection, if I put a dot, I can get access to the stored procedures that come from that connection. So from here, I'm calling my stored procedure and I'm passing in the values, the parameters. So for the product key, I give it the text value of the label. For the English category name, I get the text value of that label. And what's cool about Power Apps is that you see, if I scroll this up a little bit, you see it color codes. So this is telling.
Oh, okay. So it matches.
Yeah. So this kind of gives you a point that, okay, this is referring to this one. This is referring to that. So it's kind of cool. That it does that. Okay. And so the way I'm running a store procedure, so this is the part that I had to do some learning to do. I run it by calling a collection. So even though I'm not going to do anything, I don't really have any return values from this stored procedure, but I'm using what's called a collection in Power Apps just to run my store procedure. I'm not getting anything in return here. And then at the end of it, I call the Power BI integration dot refresh to refresh my page.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much it. So that's what you need to write back to a Fabric warehouse.
Wow.
Yeah, so let me go back here, back to the report. Now, with the Fabric warehouse, remember that we have a direct lake storage mode. So this report that you see on the screen is built off of the default semantic model that's in direct lake storage mode. You can also build a model off of the SQL connection of it in direct query. So if you build it off of direct query with the warehouse, then when you create this app and you hit Power BI page refresh, you will see the results immediately. When you do this with direct lake, there is a delay of about 30 seconds for the results to come back. So if I go here and I change this to 23 and I hit update Fabric Data Warehouse, it will update the values, but it will also trigger a page refresh. But this value over there is not going to get updated immediately. There is a delay. So this is where you have to think about your use case. If it is something where you need to see the results right away with a Fabric warehouse in near real time, then you got to go with direct query. If it's acceptable for you to, let's say you're the manager, you're updating product categories in here, and people who are using other reports from your model, they're going to see the results in 30 seconds, then by all means, you can go with the direct lake, which is typically the preferred mode. So you see how I did it here, but it hasn't shown up yet. So, but if I sit here and I hit page refresh, there it goes. So that's not because it doesn't mean our Power Apps didn't do its part. It's just that if there's a small delay there with Direct Lake, because Direct Lake gives you the best of both worlds, almost the best of both worlds. It gets you to almost performance of import with the almost near real time of direct query, but it's not exactly the same. Okay.
Interesting.
Wow.
So, Chris, do you want to pull up the last question we got in?
I do. Where'd it go? Which one? I'm sorry.
So about the Delta logs.
Oh.
Right.
Oh, yes. Okay. So that actually reminds me before you pull up the question. So two things we have to think about. One is a Fabric warehouse, even though we're able to do this, okay, a Fabric warehouse is not meant to be for OLTP systems, okay? So it's for your reporting. It's for your reporting layer, for your warehouse layer. So the question is, where should you be doing these updates? So ideally, you want these updates to happen at the source. So if you're receiving data from your Azure SQL DB, this Power Apps needs to be in a Power BI report somewhere that's updating the source, okay? So that's a topic that you have to figure out. However, having said that, there's still going to be cases where sometimes somebody wants to make an update somewhere and it's not frequent. So it's not like they're sitting there inserting records every single minute. So this is not a use case for that because of what's mentioned in the question exactly. So a Fabric warehouse stores the data in a Delta Parquet format. So that means every time there's an update, you get a new Parquet file created, and the Delta log also grows. So over time, you have to manage that. So you have to do optimization operations to merge all your changes or truncate the log. So again, it's something that you have to think about and plan carefully.
Yeah. But in the warehouse, right, that maintenance happens behind the scenes for us. right?
That's
That
true.
it doesn't happen in the lake house. But that doesn't mean that you should just abuse it, because you will still have a lot of them out there for some
Yes.
amount of time, whatever the warehouse decides, or Microsoft has decided to do its optimize and vacuum.
Right.
Just be careful, right? Like
Yeah.
this is for hundreds of records, maybe not millions of records, right? Is that a good way to assess it?
It's more, I think it's more it's not necessarily the number of records, it's how often you do this. So this is not something where you want to sit there and have a salesperson enter records.
Mhm.
Have like 1,000 salespeople entering one record at a time or updating one record at a time. This is for a use case like you were saying. It's for what if, or we want to add a comment somewhere, things like that. But having said that, I mean, it doesn't prevent anybody from using it the other way either. So
Right.
True. So,
Yeah.
well, so excellent presentation, Shabnam. I mean, just
that's awesome.
absolutely a killer. That's just great. We're very happy that to see how this stuff works and that you're able to put this together. This is just wonderful. Where can people find you and your blog and your content? Where's the best way to find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter and LinkedIn. So any one of those, if you want to connect with me, I would love to connect with you. And later today, I'm going to post a blog post that's exactly on this topic. I'm going to have the code in it, the screenshots and everything, if you want to follow. So my blog is shabnamwatson.com. So it's going to be there later today for you to look at.
Awesome. That's absolutely fantastic. And because someone asks, the book I'm reading right now is called Good Energy by Casey Means. It talks about how you can just have better health through a variety of different mechanisms, but it's absolutely fascinating. You should definitely check it out.
I actually meant to ask you that because I could see the corner of the book there.
Oh, sorry, I got it.
There you go.
There we are. Good Energy. It's wonderful. All I'm gonna say is like grain-fed, free range. Like avoid all the processed stuff. It's scary to see that. So, all right. And with that, I've got to thank everyone who's joined us. Shabnam, thank you for coming and doing it. What's going to go down as the best live stream ever right here. So excited about
Wow,
it.
you moved the bar way up.
Yeah, it's so high now.
Oh my gosh, you guys are amazing. I join sometimes on Friday mornings.
I join sometimes on Friday morning too.
Yeah.
But I'm here. Sometimes I join.
Awesome,
But yeah,
awesome.
Thanks for having me. It was great. Thank you everyone for joining.
And we plugged your SQL Saturday Atlanta. It came up earlier in the chat, so we saw the page was updated. So the date is like March 8th, right?
I think so, but I think if you see it on the page, it's official.
Yeah, on the first page it says March 8th, but when we go to the detail page, it says Feb 10th.
It's not February. It's definitely March.
Okay. All right.
Awesome. Well,
you
thanks
heard it
everybody.
Here first. All right.
And now we're about to do the scariest thing because we got all new stuff here. So we're going to try to exit and see how this goes.
Hopefully it works.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Oh.